Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. All right. I am sincerely excited about all this week because, a lot of this stuff comes from my own journal notes and things that I'm personally working on and trying to be aware of, noticing in my own life and trying to correct, quite honestly, because isn't that what life is all about sometimes? Just this idea that we have to constantly correct? Well, we do. You know what? I gotta move this because this little growth chart is just making me a little wacky, wackadoodle. I know, right? Isn't that the perfect self-sabotage right there? Exactly. So we don't need cake. Can we just pinkies up on, haven't we baked enough? I would say fully every single person on this planet knows what cake tastes like. You are so excited. You know exactly what a muffin is, which muffins are just basically cupcakes without the frosting. There's no such thing as a healthy muffin. So don't get me on my soapbox here, but I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. We had people bringing all kinds of stuff for Mark's birthday, and fortunately, he wanted a strawberry raspberry pie. And let me tell you about the strawberry raspberry pie. I hate that. Thank you very much. Gratefully, I hate that. So he's just sitting there. He's got this big pie that he bought. He found it. He was exhilarated over, and he's got a fork in it with plastic wrap over, and he's just eating out of the pie tin. And I'm just, have at it, honey. You enjoy yourself. But, as for me and my house, we've had enough baking. Yeah? Pinkies up. Pinkies up. Get rid of the baking. So let's get into this. And Tanya is here, so I'm really excited. Amber says cupcakes are muffins that believed in miracles. There you go. Well, holiday baking doesn't have to be your weakness, Gracie, because nobody's holding a gun to your head and say, bake, mama, bake. They're not. You just can say, you know what? I've baked enough. Pass the baton to somebody else. Pass the recipes on. Let them do it. Because what is it? It's inflammation and addiction. And that's what it is. This is what junkies do. They get together in crack houses. Yeah, they get together in crack houses and stick needles in their arms. There's not a whole lot of difference. Same pleasure center. That's what I want you to start thinking about when you start thinking about this stuff. Now, let's get into today's subject matter. I have a quote for you. You're going to want to write this one down. Put it in your journal. Success is not a secret. And guess who I thought about when I did this one, right? I thought about you, Tanya. And by the way, nobody eats more cucumbers than Tanya. Have you noticed her plates? She's got like a whole cucumber on her plate every time, sliced up with all her other stuff. But I always look at it and I go, there she is with her cucumbers. So good for you. Lots of fiber, lots of hydration too. But I thought of you, Tanya, with this quote. Success is not a secret, it's a system. Success is not a secret, it is a system. It is that simple. In other words, if you plan, if you put together your system, if you are religious with your rituals, morning and evening routines, right? We call them rituals. They're bookends for your life. If you're religious with this stuff, if you take your life seriously, you build a system that is going to support the vibrancy that you want in your life. That's it. There it is. And we recognize, Gracie, this one's for you. We recognize that the problem is the cake and the cookies and the stuff. We recognize that as just being absolute killers. It ruins our progress. It ruins the way we feel. It fills us with pain, fills us with, excess weight that we don't want. And if you've been in the Hot Milk Sprint today and took the time to watch that TED Talk, It'll floor you. And by the way, rest in peace. That woman just passed away recently, a couple of days ago. She had lung cancer, which is so sad, but a brilliant researcher, and she knows her stuff. Planning does equal success, exactly. And this is just the way it is, with our lives. When we plan ahead for the success that we want, that system is going to go into place instead of this shooting from the hip business. Because shooting from the hip doesn't work. Shooting from the hip is basically saying, I don't have a plan. I'm going to default to what's ever easy. And I don't give a damn about my life. In essence, that's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. Because we're not doing anything proactively to create the vibrancy that we say we want. If we want it, we'll do it. That's what happens. So, like I said, this week we're clapping back. We're clapping back against the trap. This trap that I'm talking about today is about labeling yourself. Labeling yourself, okay? This is really important because so often we identify with the wrong thing and we create a label to put on ourselves when it's an event and not an identification. There's a huge difference about that, and I want to really talk about that. And I want you to think about it. What does a label truly do for you? What does it do for you? Here, I'm going to give you some that I have heard on repeat that I'm going to break down. I am just a night owl. I am just a night owl. Okay, you're a night owl. What does that mean? That means you're staying up late. That means you're ruining your sleep. That means you're not honoring your circadian rhythm, which means from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., that's when the healing happens. That's when all the magic happens inside of you, and your brain actually gets scrubbed, by the way. You get all these plaques in your brain. Everybody does. But that plaque doesn't get cleaned up unless you're getting your sleep according to your circadian rhythm. You can research this all you want. You can say, but I'm getting my 8 hours. I'm going to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, getting up at noon or whatever. You're still not getting the benefit of the circadian clock. So you know what I say? You say I'm a night owl. You know what I'm saying? You just have a habit of staying up late and wrecking your health. Sorry, but that's the truth. And I won't budge on that one. Number 2, how about this one? Oh, I'm just a clutter bug. And your house looks like a storage unit, right? And I'll say, no, you are not a clutter bug. You are a woman who doesn't have the habit of cleaning up after herself and putting things away or throwing things out or donating things. You allow them to pile. It's an allowance. Again, nobody's holding a gun to your head and saying, allow that. Come to my office, right? You can see piles. Nobody's holding a gun to my head and saying, Leanne, make piles over here. Don't file it. Just make piles. It's not. But my identification isn't messy office. I am a messy office. My identification is I am an athlete. You've heard me say that before. We'll get into that. But the other thing that we do is that we label ourselves with, I am too tired. I am too overwhelmed. I am too this to be able to do that. And when we do this, we put ourselves and paint ourselves in such a corner, because these are I am statements and they are powerful, but they're only powerful for you when they're used correctly. When they're used incorrectly, we are putting and aligning ourselves with a false identity. And we put ourselves into the place of being very limited, to being handicapped by these things, and painted it, like I said, painted into a corner. So this weekend, I'm going to give you kind of a picture. This weekend was Mark's birthday on Saturday. I think I told you that. And we had some friends over, and I wasn't quite ready. We had a lot of friends over, and we just absolutely had about, Mark just was like, hey, yeah, come on over. And we went and played pickleball on Saturday. I am a confirmed pickleball-aholic now. Watch out. My goal is to play pickleball with Brene Brown. Okay. I'm just putting it out there so that everybody in my entire universe can hear that. And somehow or another, Brene and I are going to team up and play. Just saying, she loves pickleball too. But anyway, so played that and had people over for Sunday's game, and we played ping pong and watched the game and all of that. And do you know that Mark and I had on our blue Carolina t-shirts for the game. Mark even had socks on that had Carolina on it because you know why? He identifies himself as a full-on fan. Fans do weird things. You've seen games where they're painting their faces, they're taking their shirts off and painting their chests, men are anyway, painting their chests to identify with this team because they are such fans. That's what fans do. That's the identification process there. And they say, I am a cheesehead. They walk around with blocks of cheese on their head. You know, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is what we do when we're fans of teams, right? But when we're using labels in a detrimental way, we don't bust out of them because we're given into that, because we've given into that definition and that identification. We can't, because we've believed it hook, line, and sinker. I am a clutterbug. I am a night owl. In other words, this is just who I am. Accept it. This is who I am. I'm a T person. I am, you know, a victim of such and such a disease, so much that I tattoo things about my disease on my body. I've seen that all the way too. And what is that? It limits. It stops our growth. Because we have to ask ourselves, if change is possible, why do we want to so much put ourselves in an itsy bitsy little box and say, I am this, when in fact, it's not about that. It's about an event, not who we are. Keep hearing me on that. Beth's a Carolina fan. I love it. Now, the way that we do this is we have to be cognizant of the fact, because oftentimes we just default to these things. Oh, I'm a clutterbug, or I'm a night owl. I'm a this, I'm a T person. I'm a blah, blah, blah person. And let me tell you, your identification shifts when you make a decision to shift it. Your identification shifts when you become aware of what you're identifying with. Only then. Otherwise, we find ourselves with these limiting beliefs because that's what we have aligned ourselves up with. So labeling, as innocuous as it might be, can be tantamount to bullying and even self-bullying. And even still, labeling is a default mechanism of our brain. You know why? Shortcut. Loves it. Easy. We get to conserve energy then. Oh, she's a night owl. So you don't have to think, are you going to stay up late? Are you going to make snacks? Are you going to be watching a movie? Are you going to be on your computer? Are you going to be doing these games until 2 o'clock in the morning? You know, your brain doesn't have to go through all of the machinations of what it means to be a night owl. It just goes, oh, we're just night owls. And there's a whole list of what that encompasses. And your brain doesn't even have to think about it. It just defaults and it does the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. That's how the whole thing works. But labeling yourself as such, because it does this, this is what this is called as rapid reasoning. So that the brain just is like that. This is what we do. And it's comfortable, isn't it? Of course it's comfortable. It's what we've always known. It's what we've always done. And it just makes it easy. But psychologist David Burns says that labels are a form of irrational thinking. What? Labels are a form of irrational thinking. And that's because labels create all or nothing scenarios. Doesn't that sound like perfectionism? Right? Perfectionism is all or nothing. Well, excellence is the pursuit of excellence itself, recognizing that perfection isn't on this side of glory. Can't do it. It's never going to happen. So why put that energy into it? And then the self, flagellation afterwards. What's the point on all of that? But I will tell you, one of the reasons that we do this is our brains just love a contrast. It's easy, super easy. So we got to train them out of it. So what we need to do is, and I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios because I have heard this, and I can tell you just by going in and walking into the Hot Melt Sprint group, I was doing a couple of searches on there, and I saw a lot of people that were very active and then just disappeared. And I'm going to tell you, probably one of the scenarios that came up was this. My last attempt at the sprint didn't work out, or my hot melt 30 just didn't work out, and I failed. And instead, what they're saying is, oh, I'm just a failure, or it just doesn't work. It's a write-off of sorts. And on the, tell that to Tanya, tell that to Sarah, tell that to all these women who've had all these great results. Jocelyn, for one. I mean, we've got a list of women with all their amazing results. What do you think that's about? Do you think they have a system for success? Do you think they relabeled themselves different? Did you see what Tanya said? She decided to get off the carousel of crazy. Making a decision to get off the carousel of crazy is identifying with something different. It's not labeling yourself as a failure. It's saying, I failed at this, big deal. I can get back up and do it again. So what? It happens. And that is how we get roped into this thinking that, oh, I'm just this way and I can't do a thing about it. Oh, it's just my genes. That's another one that drives me crazy, lights me up. No, genes, what do genes do? Genes load the gun, your lifestyle pulls the trigger. It's just that simple. So what do we need to do with all of that? What do we need to do with all of this? We also need to recognize that we do it to other people too. Oh, that person, never gonna hang out with them because they're all this, or politically they're that, or religiously they're this, or God forbid, we're such, unevolved that we're saying, oh, they just have a different skin color or culture than we do. Sad. But what liberals do is oversimplify people and oversimplify reality. And we confuse a part with the whole. And it really does put us in a really bad way. And it makes us so super narrow, doesn't it? Teeny tiny, itsy bitsy little visions for ourselves and for others. And I'm going to tell you, this is this is a form of bullying, and it's especially a form of self-bullying or being judgy about others and being narrow-minded. And it 100% impedes any potential for success because you can't see your way beyond that. So, think about this, if you go to an event and you put a label on yourself that says who you are. Hi, my name's Leanne, right? Those labels stick to you, and we stick them to ourselves, don't we? But they also divide us, and they put us in camps, us versus them, and friend or foe. And it's sad, and it's narrow, and it's really low. But labels highlight one single thing and not the totality of who we are. Just think about this. When we want to default to this whole thing, oh, I'm just, I told you about that time at the dryer. This is not too long ago where I said, oh, Leanne, you're so dumb. And I said that about myself, and I had to self-correct because it was so foreign coming out of my mouth. I just said, okay, I did a dumb thing. And for those of you who weren't around for this, I had a pen in my pocket of a sweatshirt or something. I can't remember, but a pen got in there and made my white bath mats all Dalmatian-y, 101 Dalmatians. I since corrected them and cleaned them up. But the point was, it just shocked me to hear that come out of my mouth. It's easy to self-bully because we've all done it at one point or another, right? So you want some steps on how to stop it? I've got 4 things, and they're really helpful. The first one is to notice how you label, because there's good labels. I am an athlete. I'm proud of that one. And I do that one as today when I was laying on the ground doing core exercises and cussing. I was, because I hate that stuff. But I did it anyway. And I knew in 10 minutes I would be done. So let's just get through it. Let's just get it done. And let's be proud of ourselves afterwards. And I am an athlete doing core exercises because I want a strong core. That's one of the keys to vibrancy. So I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do the work to get the result. Can't get the result if you don't do the work. That's how the whole thing works. And one thing that I would say is those of you who have body clutter buddies, super smart, right? By the way, a body clutter buddy is basically an accountability partner. But you communicate with one another, and this is just ups the ladder of success when you have accountability. And it's, of course, you have accountability in our groups and what have you, but one-on-one, different. And the studies show that when you have a one-on-one, the success rate goes up. When you plan and talk to each other regularly, success rate goes even more up. But when you have accountability meetings that, like, once a week, even once every 2 weeks, or whatever works, that's when you really thread the needle and you get it done. 97% success rate. Do you know why? Look where all your energy's going. It's going toward your success. It's focusing on the success. And I think that is the most important thing that you can do. One of the most important things that you can do. And when you do this too, you can say to your accountability partner, to your body clutter buddy, you can say, you know what? I oftentimes say, I am such and such. Will you call me out on that? Will you call me out? I want to break this habit. I want to break the habit. Well, if you want to break the habit, give somebody permission to call you out. Number 2, I'm guilty of this one. Are you calling yourself names? Like I called myself dumb at the or stupid or whatever it was that I said at the dryer that day. You can say, okay, this was stupid. It's stupid to put a pen in the dryer, isn't it? That's stupid. I'm not, but the pen in the dryer is a stupid thing. Do you see the difference? This is a big difference, because you got to differentiate between the action of what just happened versus who you are and the core of who you are as a woman. Because we have to remember who you are, sister. Fearfully and wonderfully made. That sound familiar? Here on purpose and for purpose. Really, essentially called by God. If that's the case, then we can't be calling ourselves names. Who do you think we're insulting? It really, at the core of it, besides ourselves. Who else are we insulting? Think about that one. Number 3 is, it's an important idea when we're trying to change our thinking and our mindset and get ourselves right, with the direction that we want to go, is we got to start journaling. Journaling is not the big, odious writing task that you think it is. I'm not asking you to write a term paper. I'm not asking you to do anything unusual except get it out of your head and onto some paper. Because when we do this, we clear the way. We are finite humans. We can only hold so much. And sometimes you just want to open up the thing and just say, this sucks. Today sucks. Or it's awful. Or I hate this. Or I'm really struggling with X, Y, and Z. Whatever it is. But it's gone from here now onto paper. And when you do that, you find yourself able to see things a little more clearly. I use this for my analysis, because I want to look at it and see what's going on. And then I want to question myself. Am I taking responsibility for the things I need to take responsibility? Are my labels helping me to hide from what it is that I want to do? Am I excusing myself? I can't do that because, I can't do that because, oh my gosh, how many times have you said, I can't do that because you put a limit and a label on yourself? We've all done it. We've all done it. But don't you want to analyze that and make sure, is that true? Is that even true? So let's be really cognizant of the fact that I am statements, and we use these in Take Back Your Life journal, which is right here. I'll show you. This is your Take Back Your Life journal. And what this does, this journal helps you to take your goals and make them into tangible, effective, intentional I am statements for every single day. And you write them out. And when you write those out, you're writing out a new script for the way you want to live your life, what you're trying to change and what have you. And it's a gentle, sweet, consistent process to taking off the label and putting something on that feels better. Even if you're not there, even if you don't have to be there to be it. And you don't have to fake it till you make it. You just have to be it till you see it. And that's where all the things shift and change. It goes from the impossible to anything is possible. It's incredible. Another thing, this writer, his name is Gustavo Piazzi. I don't know if I did his name justice or not. He said something that I really loved. He said, don't become an adjective. Just because you lost a game, for example, doesn't mean you're a loser. It means you lost a game. Don't call yourself a loser because of it. And we've seen this, we've seen kids bully each other and say, oh, you're such a loser and what have you. You can lose something every once in a while. It happens. You can, you can fail at something every once in a while. It happens because you're human, but that is not the label of who you are. I'm going to underscore this 1,000 times. So I want you to remember something here. What is a bully? But a bully loves to needle and poke and make fun and be horrible. But you know what? One of the things that the bully loves to do? He loves to see you squirm when he pokes. He loves to see you feel uncomfortable and tortured. That's part of what bullies do, So the more we react to the bully, the more we're going to be fueling the bullying to keep going on. And that includes bullying with yourself. So the way to stop a bully, ignore him. And that applies to you too, because labeling can be bullying. And I don't want that for you. I want you to start seeing yourself in the way that you are called on purpose and for purpose. And if that's the case, keep looking to this. Look to the upper level of who you are. Look to your higher self of who you are and how you are meant to show up in this world. Called on purpose and for purpose, fearfully and wonderfully made. Keep writing this down, and let's dispense of the labels unless they lift you up higher and higher. Is that a deal? You going to work with me on that one?
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.